All right, so we are now going to do number 3 and 5 on that worksheet. These examples are going to get into a little bit different situations. I can promise you number 5 is actually the easiest one. So we're kind of getting to the harder ones right now. Okay. So first of all, if you notice, there's a couple of things about this rational expression that you notice. So first of all, the degree here is a 2 and a 2. They're both a 2. So there is an a, b, and c here because I have ax squared plus bx plus c. So remember that. So I have an a, b, and a c. And the reason why a is by itself is because the denominator is also to the degree of 2. Okay? So this is, again, what's going to be given to you for all your problems. In this video, I will have your what these are for numbers 2, 4, and 6 that are your homework. Okay? So let's go ahead and get started on this one. So my first step, if you remember from the example we just did, is to multiply through by this denominator. So I give you what the factors are here. So this is x minus 5 times x minus 1. So if I multiply through on this, okay, so I'm going to take and apply that to all of these numerators. So I'm going to take all of these and I'm going to multiply all of them by x minus 5 times x minus 1. Okay, so I'm going to apply it to this term, I'm going to apply it to this term, and I'm going to apply it to this term. And there will be things that cancel, which is our hopes. Okay, so if I take this denominator and I multiply it by a, there's no denominator for anything to cancel with. Okay, so I'm just going to say negative 2x squared plus 4x plus 14 is equal to, and now I'm going to start this multiplication. So a times x minus 5 x minus 1. Now if I multiply it by b, notice there will be an x minus 5 on the top and bottom, so those will cancel, and I'll just have b times x minus 1. Then if I multiply this by c, again the same thing's going to happen. My x minus 1s are going to cancel, so I'll just have c times x minus 5. Okay? So now that I have all this, I'm going to have to distribute, but if you notice here, I have to first FOIL this. So I'm going to get a times x is x squared, x times negative 1 and negative 5x, that's a total of negative 6x. So if you remember this is going to be x squared minus 6x, so x squared minus 1x minus 5x plus 5. So I'm just combining those two middle terms to get this negative 6x. Then I'm going to say plus 5. And I'm going to go ahead and just distribute the b in this step and distribute the c. Okay, but now I'm going to have to do another step here to distribute my a. It's going to be ax squared minus 6ax plus 5a plus bx minus b plus cx minus 5. Now if you notice here, I'm going to do what I did for warm-up. This should look really familiar from warm-up. So here's my ax squared. Here's an a, this is an x term, this is an x term, and this is an x term. And then you'll notice I have a couple these left, so I have these 3 little ones left here. So I'm going to put all those like things together and then factor out that common thing. So this is going to be ax squared. Okay, I'm going to group all my x's together, minus 6ax plus bx plus cx, and now everything else. I like to just say everything else. Okay, so again, if I factor out an x squared here, I only have an a to factor out, so that's what I'm left with. This one was kind of easy. Here I'm going to factor out an x, and when I factor an x out from here, I'm going to be left with a negative 6a and a positive b. Oh, and a c. Forgot the c. Okay, so plus c. Okay, and then the last one, I'm going to not factor anything out. I'm just going to group all of those together. And now I have my 3 coefficients. So again, I'm going to go back up here. Here's my coefficient x squared. Those match. Here's my coefficient to x. Oops, I wanted to switch colors. Here's my x coefficient. So there's my x coefficient that matches. And then finally my constant. and this is all that matches my constant. So there's my three systems of equations. So I'm going to say A, oops, let me undo that. Alright, so I'm going to say A equals negative 2, negative 6A plus B plus C equals 4. And then my last equation is going to be 5A minus B minus 5 equals 14. And I'm going to make my matrix. So again, all my coefficients here are 1, and then I don't have a B or a C, so they're just 0. So these are going to be all my A coefficients, so 1, negative 6, and 5. These will be all my B coefficients. I don't have 1 in the first equation. It's 1 in the second equation and negative 1 in the last equation. And then I don't have a C term in this one. It's 1 here, and then, did I forget my C? Oops, I forgot my 5C here. Let me go back and add that in here. There we go. Alright, just forgot to put my C on the end there. Okay, so my coefficient of the C here is negative 5. Okay, I'm going to take the inverse of that matrix and multiply it by all of these resultants. So negative 2, 4, and 14. And if I punch that in my calculator, I should get... Okay, so again, to put it in your calculator, you're going to go to your matrix menu. You're going to add a matrix that's 3 by 3. And then you're going to punch in that matrix 1, 0, 0. And then negative 6, 1, 1. Oops. Let me go back up here. There should be a 1. And then 5, negative 1, negative 5. Okay, so that's going to be my A. I'm going to take the inverse of that one. And then I'm going to create matrix B. That is a 3 by 1 matrix. And that's going to be negative 2, 4, 14. Alright, now I'm going to do A inverse B. So I'm going to select matrix A and then press my inverse button. Then select matrix B. And when I do that, I should get negative 2, negative 4, negative 4. And so that means that's my big A. That's my big A, my big B, and my big C that I'm going to plug in up here to this. So my final answer, I know that this is going to be equal to my big A. Here's my big A right here. Let me switch colors. So here's my big A. That's going to go right here. And then my big B is going to go right here. And then finally, my C is going to go here. So my final answer of my decomposed fractions is going to be negative 2 plus, well, actually in this case, because B is negative, it's a negative 4, I'm going to say minus 4 over x minus 5 minus 4 over x minus 1. Alright, so that's my final answer. So I know this is the same thing as this. And it's my big fraction that I started with, all of this, decomposed into 3 separate parts in this case. And that's again because these leading exponents are both the degree of 2. Alright, last problem we're going to do is number 5. And again, we're going to give you this information, so don't worry right now as to why this is x plus 3 and this is x plus 3 squared. Just trust me that that's what it is. We're going to follow the same steps through in order to get what this is broken up into. Okay? So we're going to try and figure out what fraction we add with this denominator to what fraction we add with this denominator in order to produce if I simplify it to this. Okay? So, first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and multiply through by that denominator. Okay, so I'm going to actually move this just throw this away and move it off the screen here. Okay, So I'm going to multiply through, and remember that my denominator here is the x plus 3 times x plus 3, or x plus 3 squared. So I'm going to distribute that here and here. Technically I do it over here first, and that's how I'm left with just the negative 7x minus 15. So yes, technically I do it to this fraction overall too, but that just gets rid of that denominator, so that I just have the negative 7x minus 15. Okay? So that's going to equal, now, a times x plus 3 squared, and I already have an x plus 3. So that means I'm just going to be left with 1x plus 3. And then for my b, if I have x plus 3 squared on top and x plus 3 squared on the bottom, all I'm left with is b. Okay? Now I distribute ax plus 3a plus b. Group terms together. Look at this, they're already grouped together. My x term is already by itself, and here's everything else. So again, I'm going to look. My x term here is negative 7, so I know that negative 7 and a are the same. My constant is 3ab, which it's 15 here, so there's my two systems of equations. So I have negative 7, a equals negative 7, and 3a plus b equals negative 15. Alright, make your matrix. Coefficient matrix is 1, 0, 3, 1. 1 is the coefficient of a. I don't have a b, so that's a 0. 3 is the coefficient of a. B is a coefficient of 1. I'm going to take the inverse of my coefficient matrix, multiply it by the resultants of negative 7 and negative 15, and that will give me my big A and my big B value to solve this system. So again, you're going to want to plug that in your calculator, and we'll bring that up here for you. And now I'm only doing a 2 by 2. And I have 1, 0, 3, 1. And then I have a 2 by 1 matrix, which are negative 7 and negative 15. Okay? And I'm going to do A inverse B. So notice I just did that last, so I'm just going to take my last entry, which was A inverse B, and I have negative 7, 6. So that's what I plug right in here for A and B. So my final answer is going to be that the fraction negative 7x minus 15 over x squared plus 6x plus 9 is the same thing as negative 7 over x plus 3 plus 6 over x plus 3 squared. And this is your answer. Okay, and it's again using those matrix equations. So, for your homework, okay, your homework is numbers 2 through 6. So here's your breakdown for 2, 4, and 6. I didn't write that whole fraction out for number 6, but this is what you're going to need to solve it. This is probably, number 6 is the most challenging. I would expect that you can do 2 and 4 tonight on your own, but number 6 might be a little bit challenging for you. Okay? Alright, you can pause this and get that information. If you have any questions, please let me know.